It's that time of year again. Mercury retrograde is on its way. Hi, my name is Tamara Bartmus. I'm a natural wellness educator, energy worker, and astrologer. And today I'm going to dive into what you can expect during this Mercury retrograde season that is beginning today. Now, technically, Mercury doesn't go retrograde for another couple of weeks, but you still might be wondering, why does it begin today? Let me break it down with you. Back at the end of March and into April, Mercury went retrograde in the sign of Aries, just a single sign. And this time we will be having the Mercury retrograde experience in two signs, in Virgo and in Leo. And the reason why I said Mercury retrograde season has already begun is because today, July 17th, marks the entering of Mercury into its pre-shadow. Now, Mercury goes through phases during its direct and retrograde motion. And so I want to break this down as far as dates go so that you can get a little bit more nuanced in how this might apply to you. Like with astrology, there's lots of layers for application, but these dates can help you pinpoint or get more clarity on how your mind is working, how you're processing information, and where it might all be going a little haywire. So the superior solar conjunction was back in June 14th. This was like a full moon energy when Mercury was at 24 degrees, 6 minutes in Gemini. And it has taken since June 14th to now July 17th to enter what is known as the pre-shadow zone of its retrograde season. This happens at 21 degrees, 24 minutes in Leo. And it won't be until August 5th when Mercury hits 4 degrees, 6 minutes Virgo that it will station retrograde. And for that first half of retrograde season, generally speaking, it's wrapping up things, getting things done, stuff that hasn't been addressed since the last Mercury retrograde. When it hits its inferior conjunction on August 18th, 2024 at 26 degrees, 35 minutes in Leo, the energy shifts. And instead of taking care of the past, it now moves into an energy of planning for and preparing for the future. That will take up the second half of the retrograde season. And then it will station direct on August 28th, 2024 at 21 degrees, 24 minutes in Leo. And it will continue in that energy until it exits the retrograde zone on September 11th, 2024 at 4 degrees, 6 minutes Virgo. This very rough diagram here helps sort of visualize that as Mercury comes into this point, it hits this inferior conjunction point 3 different times. The first time around, when it goes backwards, and when it comes forward again. So these 3 points play a significant point in resetting of its energy and beginning a new cycle. And again, to highlight, the middle point here will be August 18th at 26 degrees, 35 minutes Leo. Mercury is the connector and the facilitator. It carries frequency and has a neutral energy in that it is meant to carry the information back and forth to whatever and whomever. It helps connect the planet's energy to our own consciousness. And it does this as it goes through its cycle of rising after the sun and then before the sun and then after and back and forth again and again, making these transits over and across the sun multiple times in a year. Now, Mercury rules both Gemini and Virgo, and its role in how it operates within those signs is slightly different. In Gemini, its role is meant to more acquire information, gather it, and learn it, whereas in Virgo, it's meant to analyze it, digest it, and utilize it. When you look at your own personal birth chart, any aspects to Mercury helps actually identify how information is being interpreted and applied to your life. When you look at your own birth chart, just pay attention to where your Mercury is located, because just like your sun sign has an energy in your moon or your rising, your Mercury placement helps you understand how you think, how you process information, your unique way of speaking, and where information is accessible for learning as well as analyzing. One of the things I want to highlight about Mercury as a dual ruler of Gemini and Virgo is that during retrograde season, the energy shifts in Mercury's role. It's not so much a role of gathering information when it is direct in its motion. It's more about what information have you gathered that now needs to be reviewed, reevaluated, and reflected on so that you can make a better conscious decision as you move forward. So there's this energy of gathering with Gemini, and analyzing with Virgo. Of course, in astrology, there's layers of interpretation. One of the things that can help you understand the energy of the season and its impact on you will be to examine your birth chart and look at what is happening between 21 degrees Leo and 4 degrees Virgo. And you have planets in that area or house shifts. These are things to pay attention to and where your life might be impacted by this Mercury retrograde. Another way to look at Mercury retrograde is to consider what is the energy of Mercury in Leo versus Mercury in Virgo. Now, if we go back to the dates, we'll see that we start in Leo, then we retrograde in Virgo and go back to Leo and then go back to Virgo. So if we start in Leo, then this is an opportunity to reflect on what this might look like during retrograde season for you. Mercury in Leo has an energy of learning to speak up, to express yourself, your thoughts, your creativity, even your emotions, taking a chance on yourself, risking and letting yourself be seen as well as letting your words be heard. Sometimes this can lead to the pendulum swinging super far, where it's all about our voice and we have no space or time or energy to actually listen to other people's voices. So we want to be more aware of that we don't speak so much that we forget that other people have something to say as well. And remember, with Mercury moving through Leo, you don't always have to be right. The tendency might be there to say, I know I'm right. Some arguments and some relationships are just not worth the need to be right. We're all growing and evolving in who we are and what impacts us and what we value. And allowing another person their difference of opinion to your difference of opinion can preserve the relationship, but also allow for you to express yourself in a healthy way. Now, when Mercury moves into Virgo, it is a time when we utilize this energy to apply our mind and our mental capacities for excellence, where we seek out mentors or people who are more experienced in something that we admire or we want to learn or a skill we want to develop, where we take responsibility for our own self-discipline and our focus. Those are the things that we do every single day, where self-discipline and focus become our daily mantra of how we are going to improve ourselves. And instead of gathering more information, it's more about organizing and analyzing what has already been gathered. This is where that energy of completion is valuable to help you get the things done that just sort of were thrown on the table but never put away. Whether that's literal or figurative, it's a time to sort of finish up what was unfinished so that you can move forward. The paradox of Virgo is learning to seek excellence, but also learning to accept what is good enough. You can be caught in a perpetual state of never enough and always in planning, always in perfection mode. Remembering that learning, true learning, is not so much in the gathering of information as it is in the application of ideas, not just in the planning of them. I just realized that I had the wrong date on my previous chart, which I will fix in the video. But this pre-shadow period actually starts July 16th, and Mercury will go retrograde on August 4th, not the 5th. I'm sorry for that date confusion, but I just fixed it, and I will hopefully be able to fix it in the video. When you look at this placement of Leo and Virgo and Mercury going between these degrees, pay attention to what is creating a square and a trine and an opposition. So how do you know if this is going to impact you? Well, it just depends. As we look at different aspects that are created because of this Mercury retrograde season through Leo and Virgo, we're going to consider what is 60 degrees away from this, what is 90 degrees, what is 120 degrees, and what is 180. Those are the key aspects that we pay attention to in astrology. There's the sextile, which is 60. There's the trine, which is 120. There's the square, which is 90. And then there's the opposition, which is 180. Now, squares and oppositions create a little bit more friction and tension. Not a bad thing, but just require a lot more focus and intentionality in how you utilize that energy. Things like sextiles and trines, they present more opportunities and a greater flow to bring positive things into your experience. So when you look at this will change a little bit as we go through Mercury retrograde. but a 60-degree on either direction from Leo at 21 degrees, that's going to be Libra at 21 degrees, or that's going to be Gemini at 21 degrees. So that's a sextile. So any energy around that showing up on your birth chart is going to actually invite some new opportunities. The square energy is going to be 90 degrees. That's going to hit the fixed signs. So Leo's a fixed sign, so it's going to hit Scorpio and Taurus. So you have placements in Taurus that might also be triggered by this Mercury retrograde. The opposition, of course, is going to be Aquarius. So if you have any planets from 21 degrees to the end of the sign, that will also be interesting to create some opposition and maybe some need for objectivity and less judgment, a little bit more perspective, but it can also be very helpful to reflect and see things differently because of that opposition. Now, the trine is 120 degrees difference. So the fire signs are going to be impacted for the net positive potential, and that would be Sagittarius and Aries being impacted by this. Now, again, once the planet Mercury moves into Virgo, it will shift slightly. So the trine experience will be slightly different. The opposition, the squares, and the sextiles will also shift as well. That is something that is a very nuanced feeling, but you can pay attention to that if you're into it. We will have one more cycle of Mercury retrograde towards the end of the year, as it will move through only just one sign, which is Sagittarius, at the end of the year. So I will do another video on that just to give you some dates and specific, but just remember that Mercury retrograde season is a great opportunity to review, to reflect, to renew, to revisit, to restore, anything that helps us to examine, maybe slow down a little bit and really reevaluate, are we on the path that really makes the most sense? If we integrate the information that we've gained in the last few months, are we aligned with that information and with our own values in how we are going to proceed in the next few months? Now, if you are looking for a tool to support you through this 2-month process of Mercury in its shadow and in retrograde and direct again, there's a wonderful essential oil that I feel is very relevant to the energy of this retrograde season. It is called coriander. Now, coriander is an interesting plant because lots of people know it as also cilantro. And when cilantro has bolted, as they say, it goes to seed, and the seed produced is what we know as coriander. So in this dual nature of this essential oil, we also find that Mercury is expressing its own dual nature in its rulership of both Gemini and Virgo, as well as it moving through 2 signs during this retrograde period, being Leo and Virgo. Now, utilizing this can, on a physical level, be very supportive to the digestive system, which is something that Virgo energy happens to have strong influence on. But on a more energetic level, coriander is really helpful to supporting your core identity. Maybe we'll call it the third chakra, the part of us that has the ability to show up as we are and take a risk on ourselves. Virgo energy, we can often get caught up in perfectionism. In that perfectionistic tendency, we do not dare risk showing up with our vulnerabilities or our weaknesses. But part of the energy of Leo is being willing to try to show up, to give voice, and be you. And in that dynamic, coriander is going to be wonderful support as you use it throughout the entire 2 months of July through September. How do you use it? Well, it can be great topical for the skin. So blending it with some jojoba oil can be wonderful for a toner for the skin. You could also use a couple of drops in a veggie capsule and take it internally. And a simple way to use this might be to put a drop on your belly button every morning and before bed to help you digest the energy of the experiences of the last few months, as well as what you are seeing or realizing as you go through this current Mercury retrograde, and prepare you better for when Mercury is ready to move direct and you begin a new cycle of growth and of gathering information to move forward. I'll make sure to put a link for that in the description below. I hope this gives you a good overview of times and dates to pay attention to, as well as what to go digging and looking for in your own birth chart. Let me know in the comments if you have planets in Leo or Virgo that are going to be impacted by this Mercury retrograde. I always feel that awareness is a powerful tool to choose differently. So you don't have to feel like you are just being thrown with the winds of the experience, but you really can come to it with a conscious and intentional energy and make the most out of the retrograde experience. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. I look forward to sharing more about natural wellness, energy work, and astrology with you.